Welcome back. Welcome to week 6. Today we're examining ballroom, not simply as a dance technique or social activity, but as a system of social signaling and identity. Our guiding question is, how does ballroom dance act as a social signal? Ideally, by the end of this module, you should be able to analyze ballroom dance as a form of social signaling tied to class, gender, and respectability. Examine how ballroom spaces regulate bodies, partnerships, and power, and evaluate ballroom's shifting means across historical and cultural contexts. By defining social signaling, we want to make sure we have a really good base of what this is. By definition, social signaling is the act of consciously or unconsciously conveying information about one's identity, values, status, or emotions through behaviors, appearance, and choices. It acts as a form of nonverbal communication used to establish social belonging, gaining approval, or influence how others perceive them. So when you hear the word ballroom, what kind of person do you imagine? What socioeconomic background do you imagine? What about gender roles? What kind of clothing do you imagine? What race or ethnicity do you see? What kind of behavior? Ballroom already communicates before anyone moves. That communication is social signaling. Ballroom dance, which was codified in European courts, was never just about movement. It functioned as a performance of aristocratic identity. Ballroom exists in the binary. It is structured, teaches bodies how to behave, especially in how to perform to gender norms. Ballroom teaches us that popular dance does not just express culture, it actively produces social order. Ballroom dance is not just about learning steps. It teaches people how to behave in relations to others. It regulates bodies, partnerships, and power in really 3 key ways. It regulates the body. Ballroom requires upright posture, controlled movement, and emotional restraint. The body must look composed, refined, and disciplined. Slouching, excessive looseness, or uncontrolled expression are corrected. In this way, ballroom trains the body to signal respectability and control. Ballroom regulates partnerships. Traditional ballroom is built on a leader-follower structure. The leader initiates movement and direction. The follower responds. Historically, this aligned with men leading and women following. This physical structure of dance embeds a hierarchy on one body directs and the other adapts. Ballroom also regulates power. Ballroom spaces are often include dress codes, etiquette, and expectations about behavior. These rules signal who belongs and who understands the culture. The dance floor becomes a controlled social space where class, gender roles, and authority are rehearsed and reinforced. When we think about ballroom today, we may imagine elegance, gowns, tuxedos, and formal settings. That image is not accidental. Ballroom dance grew out of European aristocratic court culture, where dance was not just entertainment, but it was a way to show power. In the 16th to 18th centuries, European royal courts, particularly in France, used dance as a political tool. One of the most important figures was Louis XIV, also known as the Sun King. He loved dance, and he even performed in court ballets himself. The visuals of ballroom were not just aesthetic choices. Every choice signaled class. The aristocracy wanted to look different from lower socioeconomic people, whose dances may have been more considered grounded, energetic, or improvisational. Ballroom may have been one of the first times where dance was used as social literacy and where social literacy mattered. Not only did you need to know the steps, but you had to know how to bow or curtsy, how to approach a partner, who could ask whom to dance, how long to dance, and when to leave the dance floor. Dance functioned like a social exam. So ballroom became a manual of embodied etiquette. Since teaching children to dance was an investment, if you knew ballroom, you could enter elite spaces, marry well, and could signal upward mobility. Ballroom also regulated proximity between men and women. In an aristocratic setting, physical contact was carefully structured, gender roles were clearly defined, men led while women followed. The structure of ballroom partnership grew out of this highly controlled social order. Ultimately, ballroom trained the body to display social rank. A person who danced well was assumed to be well raised, morally disciplined, and socially educated. Today, the waltz feels elevated, even conservative. But when the waltz first became popular in the late 1700s and early 1800s, it was considered shocking, scandalous, and some say dangerous. Before the waltz, most European social dances kept partners at arm's length, used group formations, and limited sustained physical contact. The waltz introduced something new: close embrace, continuous rotation, and prolonged physical contact between man and woman. For the first time in elite society, a man and a woman could stand chest to chest and move together across the room. So, why was this shocking, scandalous, and maybe dangerous? Some argued that the waltz encouraged immoral behavior, stimulated improper desire, and threatened women's modesty, and ultimately undermined social order. The waltz blurred boundaries of controlled intimacy. The waltz did not begin in royal courts. It evolved in rural Austria and German folk dances. So for the first time, lower class influenced aristocratic spaces. Folk movement became fashionable and social boundaries started to dissolve. By the 1800s, urban middle-class society embraced ballroom dancing as a sign of refinement. Ballroom now emphasized proper posture, controlled emotion, polite conversation, and appropriate physical boundaries. Ballroom events were carefully structured. Women carried cards, men formally requested dances, parents supervised interactions, and behavior was closely monitored. Ballroom continued to live in the binary and emphasized gender roles. Men represented public authority and leadership, while women represented modesty, grace, and purity. A woman who danced too freely risked appearing improper, while a man who lacked authority risked appearing weak. As time has progressed, we must continually evaluate ballroom's shifting meanings across time. Ballroom has not always meant the same thing, nor will it stay the same. Its meanings changes depending on who is dancing, where it is happening, and what social structures are surrounding it. To evaluate ballrooms across dance contexts, we need to ask, what does ballroom signal in this moment? Who has access to it? And what kind of power does it reinforce or challenge? When we think about the aristocratic courts, ballroom was about power, prestige, meaning, and those who had access were part of the ruling class. As we moved into the 19th century, ballroom became about respectability and morality. Ballroom meant that one who participated is respectable and refined. It shifted from inherited power to performed virtue. Today, many of us may have experienced competitive ballroom that centers around technique and institutional legitimacy. In the 20th century, ballroom became a formalized sport. It standardized technique, created judging system, codified rules, and revolves around mass global competition circuits. Ballroom now signals technical mastery, training and access, and institutional recognition. One of my personal favorite forms of ballroom is televised ballroom. Shows like Dancing with the Stars has transformed ballroom into entertainment. Ballroom became extremely accessible. It became about emotional storytelling, celebrity spectacle, public opinion, and a national beloved competition. It signals transformation and glamour. As we examine various stages of ballroom, we also need to examine the cultural contract of Black ballroom culture. It is important to distinguish Euro-American ballroom traditions from ballroom scenes emerging in Black, Latinx, and LGBTQ+ communities. In this context, ballroom became a space for chosen family, gender performance, and experimentation, resistance to exclusion, and survival of visibility. As we recap, the ballroom dance is more than partnered movement. It's a social system that organizes bodies, relationship, and power. Across historical and cultural contexts, ballroom has signaled class, reinforced gender structures, and reflect shifting values about respectability and belonging. As we conclude this week, I want you to ponder, how does ballroom teach people about power? Is ballroom inherently conservative, or can it be subversive? How does ballroom function as social signaling today? That's it for this module. Be sure to complete the assignments and materials and submit your discussion posts, and I will see you next week.